let's get started on the mini basket weave stitch blanket. The song "A Tisket a Tasket," a green and yellow basket, kept going through my mind as I was making this because it does look like a basket. So I used Bernat Forever Fleece yarn, my favorite, and color A is White Noise, color B is Matcha, and color C is Chamomile. It's a super bulky 6-weight yarn, so any super bulky yarn would do. My trusty, very old, worn 10 millimeter hook. You could go down to an 8 or a 9 if you prefer. I like a little bit of a looser stitch. All right, so the very first chain row is going to be a multiple of 3 plus one more chain at the very end of your chain. To make a 45-inch wide blanket, mine ended up being 45 inches wide by, gosh, around 68, maybe even longer, inches long. I made my multiple of 3 plus 1 as 91 chains. So if you want to make it the same as mine, do that. I am going to make a sample size because I don't have very much yarn left. So it's going to be a chain of 28, 27 plus one more chain at the end. So I will have blocks of 9 stitches. You're going to have blocks of 30 stitches if you're following my pattern. I'll be right back when I have my 28. Right. Yeah, I had to stop because I wasn't counting. So on my sample size, it's still a multiple of 3. I'm using blocks of 3 colors. If you'd like to make your blanket wider, you can use another color and just add another 30 chains. It would make it a good bit wider. I think about 15 inches maybe. All right, so we're going to come into the second chain from the hook, turn it over because we're going to go into the back bump with single crochet. There's your back bump. It makes a nicer beginning foundation. Go into the next back bump, and it will, the very last row will pretty much mimic this row. They'll look very, very similar. This blanket will not require a border. I made my chain row nice and loose also so it doesn't curl up too much. So you are going to have much longer foundation row than I will. I'll meet you when I get to the end of the row, that first chain row. Because anytime you have gotten lost, you can come back and find your chain and turn it over and you'll find that back bump. But in the very last stitch, I'm going to act like I'm going into the back bump, but I'm actually just going to push on through. This is going to help keep your edge straight. Got dark in here. It's stormy out today. Okay, that's just going to help keep your edge straight. I know some people don't like a lot of chit-chat on here, but I did want to tell you, I'm very self-conscious about my hands and especially my thumbs, and a very nice lady wrote me the other day after she watched my plaid farmhouse blanket video and said the first thing she noticed was my thumbs, and it was because she recently lost her mother, and her mother had thumbs just like mine, and it is a hereditary trait. And after reading that, I swore I will never be embarrassed or self-conscious or apologize for my thumbs again. So thank you for that. And that was just very kind of her. So on the second row, we're going to turn no chain because we're going to make what's called some people call it, and I have called it, a chainless double crochet. I actually like the term stacked single crochet better because I think it describes it better. So you just, in that very, very first stitch, make a single crochet and then go in the left loop of that single crochet, pull through those 2 loops, and that's another single crochet right on top of it. It mimics a double crochet. It gives more structure than a chain 2 or a chain 3, and it doesn't leave any gaps. Also, it's easier to work into when you come to the end of the row. So I'm going to make 9 double crochets because this is my sample. You're going to make 30 or however many is a third of what you were making, or a fourth if you decided to go with another color. So make your 30, go in the whole stitch and just make double crochets all the way across until you get to 30, and then we're going to change colors. So I will come back when I'm at number 9 on my sample. So this is number 9 for me. It'd be number 30 for you. Begin a double crochet, but don't complete it. Leave your last 2 loops. Pick up your color B, whatever color you have chosen. Let me know if you use different colors. Now, I've just made a loop and a tail. You're going to leave the tail. Put this on, and then bring up the other color that you were using, color A. You're going to pull both of those through as though they're one loop and complete that double crochet. Actually, the color you were just working on should be first. Okay. Oh, I'm confused myself. Drop color A. Figure out where you are. And you're going to do another 30 plain old double crochets. I want to show you what happens now, though. Boop. It disappears. That's what you're going to do every time you change color. So these are just plain old double crochet. You'll have 30. I'll have 9. I'll meet you when we change. Okay, I'm ready for color C. I hope that was all in focus. I forgot to hit my focus button. Now, I want my new color to be first. I just looped it around. The color I was just working on goes second. Pull that through the last 2 loops. And that's how I want it. The color I was working on should be on this side, closest to the hook. Bring your tail down. And using color C, start your 30. Come through all of those loops. Bink. It pretty much disappears by the time you make your next stitch. So come across with your 30 double crochet. And I will meet you at the end of the row, at the end of my 9. It'll take me nearly. I'm at the end of my row. My last double crochet goes in this whole stitch. I also am going to include this chain from below because it's going to help keep my edge straight. You don't have to do that. It will still look lovely. It'll have just a little tiny bit of a scalloped edge. Okay, and now we're just going to turn, no chain. The only time you're going to do a chain is when we do a row of single crochet in between. All right, so we're going to make sure our colors are straight here. It's probably the hardest part of this whole blanket is having a way to keep your yarn separated. If you have a table or a desk, it works really well. I just had it in my lap and it was fine. I just had to keep remembering to switch them up. Okay, so start your row with a stacked single crochet, go in the left loop, and another single crochet. Now, in that first double crochet from below, not this one. I guess it's the second one. We're going to do a front post double crochet. You're going to go behind it and push it to the front. Grab your yarn, pull it up, pull it up even with your other loops so we don't get puckery. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and that's your front post double crochet. Now we're going to make a back post double crochet. Yarn over, come in between, push it to the back with your hook, grab your yarn and pull it through. You're going to pull it in front of that post. Pull your loop up even with the others. Pull through 2, pull through 2. If you feel like it's too loose, this is where you can tighten it. And just pull a little tighter on it if you want to. So now we're going to alternate. Okay. We're going to go, this is row 3. Front post, back post. And the reason I'm being really, really careful is because I already did a sample size of this, and I actually skipped one of the posts as I was telling you not to do that. I had to redo it. Front post, back post, front post, back post. That just means you're going to push that post to the back. Pull this through. You're just pulling that yarn right in front of it. It's kind of hard to show how to do it. You're just going to get the feel of it. After a while, you don't even really need to look. You can see where it's easy to miss one, so just kind of pull them apart. Make sure you're not missing one like I did previously. Front post, back post, and you're going to do this with all 30. When you get to your 30th double crochet, you're just going to start the double crochet and not finish it. But I do want to show you something with these. Okay, that was the front post. So this is going to be back post. Go ahead and grab this in with it. The back post. You'll just kind of lock that in. You'll be weaving that tail in later. Okay, so we're going to start a double crochet, but we'll want to change colors, so drop. Oops, we're not going to drop it yet. Pull that new color over, make a loop, pull the old color, pull both those colors through to complete, drop color C, get back to color B, because that was pushed to the front. Now we want to bring it to the back. Make a back post, double crochet out of it. Pull through 2 and pull through all those loops. Pull on the previous color and it pretty much disappears. It also helps keep your edges nice and even. So check yourself out. That was a back post. It can also be very easy to mistakenly put 2 stitches in one. It helps if you keep your work right in front of you and kind of pull it apart a little bit to make sure you're catching those stitches. It gets easier in row 4. Because you can kind of see which ones you want to push front and back. Okay, make sure you're staying in line there. Change color to color A when you get here, and I'll meet you at the end of the row. Make sure you're going front post, back post, front post, back post. Let's see, I'm at the end of the row, or not the end of my color B. So I want to put my new color on, loop it over, put my color B on, the color I was working on, pull both of those through to complete that double crochet. Drop my color B, pick up color A. That was front post, back post. So now I need a front post. Pull through all 3 of those. Boop. It will become clear how that helps. And continue on. Front post, back post, front post, back post. Your very last stitch into the stacked single crochet from the row below is going to be a double crochet. I'll meet you there. I am at the end of the row. I have 8 front post, back post, double crochet. I'm on my 9th. So just work into the top of that stacked single crochet with a double crochet. Go right in there, and I want to include the chain from below, part of that stacked single crochet. You don't have to. And complete just a regular double crochet. It's not a post, a back post or a front post. And that's how it's looking so far. That was row 3. We're going to go on to row 4, which you're going to continue to repeat row 4 until you have 25 rows, starting with your first double crochet row. You can make it longer or shorter. These ended up being rectangular. If you want to make it shorter and make them square, you can do that. Mine ended up being pretty much big enough to cover a twin size bed. It's 45 inches wide by around 68, 69 inches long. And I have 4 sections of each color. And you can change them around however you want. Just make sure you don't put the same color together. Okay, so now this is the row that you're going to be repeating. You're going to need to move your yarn around. Usually has to go under. And that'll just keep you from getting tangled up. We're going to do a stacked single crochet again. Left loop, pull it through, and do another single crochet. Now, this is the repeat row, row 4. If your post is pushed to the front, they're all going to be double crochets again. You want to make it a back post, push it to the back. Double crochet. If your post, make sure you're pulling on them so you don't miss any. If it's pushed to the back, now you want to make it a front post. And this is what makes it look like a basket weave. It looks very woven. It gives it a beautiful texture. The mini basket weave. The basket weave usually uses 3 or 4 front posts and then 3 or 4 back posts. And I like that stitch as well. This is just what I had pictured with my a tasket, a green and yellow basket. Mini basket weave. Again, anytime it's pulled to the front, you want to make it into a back post. Double crochet. That's your woven part. If it's to the back, bring it to the front for a front post. When you get to your 30th stitch, I want to show you this. See how there's kind of an extra piece over here? Make sure you bring that in. Now, that's pushed to the back, so I want to make it a front post. Just make sure you grab that as well. And that's going to keep your blocks really nice and straight. They look great. And I should not have completed that double crochet because it was my last one of that color, color A. So to switch colors, you don't want to complete that until you have your new color on. Your previous color, bring both of those through. Your previous color should be closer to the hook. Drop that. Okay, so my next stitch is to pull to the front, so I want to pull it to the back with a back post. Keep your stitches, fairly loose. If you feel like your stitches are too tight, move up to a bigger hook. Okay, now I'm going to pull that through. I just like doing that because I think it's fun. Magic. All right, this one's pushed to the back. So I'm going to pull it to the front with a front post double crochet. Make sure you're not missing any. I just made a whole big blanket in my sample size. I missed one. So it's very easy to do. And it will mess up your stitch count later. So all right. You can fast forward this part. I just want to show you one more time how to change color when you get to your... Make sure I haven't missed any. Push this one to the front. I'm going to push this one to the back. And there's that extra piece over here. I want to make sure that I grab that. So I'm pushing this to the back, and I'm making sure that that extra piece is caught up in there. I'm going to start my last double crochet of that color in this row. I'm going to put my new color on, my old color, pull both of those through. My old color is closest to the hook. Drop it. This is pulled to the front, so I want to make that into a back post double crochet. Pull my old color, make it disappear. This one's pushed to the back, so I want to make sure I push it to the front. Make sure you're pulling your loop up even with the other loops. That will help to keep it from puckering. This one's pushed to the front, so I'm going to come around it, push it to the back, bring my yarn through. I usually have to turn my hook at this point. You'll just get a feel for that, I promise you will. And continue to alternate. This is row 4, this is your repeat row. And when I say 25 rows for me, and again, it was just because that's when I was getting close to ending a skein of yarn. So they were pretty rectangular, around 16 inches or so. When I say 25 rows, I started my row count for that part of the pattern on the double crochet rows where I started here. However, this fourth row that we're repeating is actually the 4th row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, back to what we were doing. I get very sidetracked. Sorry for those of you who hate all the yakety-yak. All right. And at the very end, you want to make sure you don't miss this stitch. That was your stacked single, which acts as a double. You see that V there? That's the stitch you're going to work into. And let's go ahead and catch the stitch below. Pull through there. And now you're just working a regular double crochet. See, it's staying nice and straight. And you're going to find that your edges are nice and straight here. So you're going to continue this row 4, alternating back and forth until you've hit 25 rows or you're almost out of yarn. However you want to do it. If you want to continue and just keep adding yarn and just have stripes instead of blocks, you could do that. When you get to the end of your blocks, and we're going to switch block colors, we're just going to do another row of single crochet in color A, which is, for me, is white. If wherever you ended up is on the wrong side, which all that means is the tail is not over here. The tail is to the right from your initial chain. This is considered the wrong side. If this is where you make your single crochet row to separate your blocks from the next change of colors, just every time you do change blocks like that, make sure you're on the same side, either the wrong side or the right side. It doesn't matter, whichever one that you ended up with. So I'm going to work the wrong side. We're pretending that this is really, really long. But I ended up with not all that much yarn, so I don't have that much to work with. So when you have your rows, you have your 16 or 25 rows, 16 inches, however you want to do it. Go ahead and cut your yarn because you're going to switch colors. Right now, all we're going to do, we're going to weave those in later. This yarn is very, very easy to weave ends in. Okay, so this is just going to be a row of single crochets. I like to pull that through. It helps lock it in. I'm going to pull my color A through those two loops. And I'm going to make a chain. I'm going to include that tail in my chain. And that really helps lock it in. When I made an error in the first sample that I did and I pulled it apart, this was hard to get apart. All right, I'm going to turn. And one of the reasons it was hard to pull apart was because I took the tail from my color C and I wove it through one loop of about 3 or 4 stitches, one front loop, one back loop, and then you can just cut that after you've come over them. And you just leave this one, find your very first stitch, and make a single crochet. Okay. Don't get confused because it looks a little thick up here from weaving those in. You don't have to do that, but guarantee you they're not coming out anytime soon. So come all the way across with single crochet. And you should have 90 single crochet if you're following my pattern, or just as many as you started out with if you're using a different chain count. We're just going to come underneath both of those. If you're not sure where your stitches are, pull it up and you can clearly see your stitches. All the way across, single crochet. I'll meet you at the end of the row. And this is just to define your blocks. Okay, when you're at the end of that single crochet row, which would be row 26. It was for me. The row count doesn't really matter. It just matters how long you want your blocks, how much yarn you had. All right. So I went into that last stitch, find your V, and then find the chain from just a half a loop, basically, part of the loop from below. Okay, we're not going to finish that single crochet because you're going to switch colors. However you want to do it. I switched over to color B. Let's see, what did I do? I started with color B, and then I changed to color C, and then I changed to color A. So I had the matcha was above the white, chamomile was above the matcha, and the white was above the chamomile. And again, I changed out 4 different times. There are 4 sets of block rows, which you'll see in my finished blanket. So all you have to do now is switch over to switch over to color C if you prefer. However you want to switch them, just don't put the same color on top. Like, don't put white on top of white. I guess you could. I just don't think it's a great idea. All right. Cut your yarn. I like to pull that through. Just helps keep it in. So that single crochet row was basically row 1. Row 2, you're just making double crochets again. Oh, we're not chaining because we're doing double crochets. We are just simply switching over. Let's see. And if you want to just weave that in and out of your chains or your stitches, front loop, back loop, 3 or 4 stitches, that's just going to help lock that in. And you can cut that when you've done 3 or 4 stitches. Now, because I'm not bringing that tail in because I'm not doing a chain, I am going to come in this very first stitch. Hang on. This very first stitch, not down here. This one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is my first stitch. All right. We're going to come in here, start your single crochet, come into the left loop. Now, bring your tail. This is where you're going to bring your tail through. And that is definitely locking it in. Pull it through. All right. Let's make sure I did that right. You're going to make 1 row of regular double crochet. It's like your row 2 from below. 1. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which is above my double crochet from below. So yes, that was correct. Sorry, I was so confused at the beginning there. That was my first stitch. So I have 9 double crochets. You're going to have 30. That's where you're going to switch over to your next color, which for me is going to be color C. Make your 30. When you're on your last double crochet, switch over. And make sure you switch over the same way by placing the new color first. Just a loop the old color. pull those through. That finished out your double crochet. Your old color is closest to the hook. Okay, continue on. If you get confused, go back to the beginning. Row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, and then you're just going to repeat row 4 until your blocks are as long as you want them, or the same length as your previous blocks. If you have any questions, please write them in the comments. I love to get feedback, good or bad. Well, I really don't like bad feedback, but I like good feedback. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. I can't believe so many people have subscribed, and I really didn't think anybody was going to watch these, but I'm glad they're helpful to you. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I would really appreciate it. And I have another pattern coming out very soon for a scarf with a lot of texture in it. All right, see you soon.